We start this story by zooming in on the world map in the year 2100. The world population has passed 10 billion, but it will never reach 11. Politically, the world no longer has just one or two countries on top, like China and America in our age. Instead, the world is multipolar and split between many powerful nations. These include the United States and their sphere of influence in the Americas, the European Union, both the East African Federation and ECOWAS in Africa, with their massive populations and fast growing economies. China and India are also both still great powers. These many powers competing have raised tensions, and these tensions will escalate quickly. Due to uncontrollable greenhouse gas emissions, the world has been heating up continuously since the Industrial Revolution. Even as renewable energy started taking over the world in the late 21st century, the switch was too little, too late. Polar ice had been melting for decades, and by the turn of the century, the last of it was beginning to melt. The rising sea levels from this melted ice is what started the end of the world. Coastal regions on all continents were greatly affected, but China was collapsing, as over 400 million people lived in the regions that were projected to be flooded. China began wars with many of its neighbors to try to acquire more land for their endangered populations. These rising sea levels, along with other pollution, had a massive effect on the climate. This greatly increased the speed of climate change. This climate change caused droughts on many continents and food scarcity in almost all of the underdeveloped parts of the world. Developed regions were not spared, though. The Gulf Stream in the Atlantic is an ocean current that allows Europe to have a temperate climate, even though it has a very high latitude, meaning it should be colder. The rising sea levels disrupted this and greatly decreased Europe's temperature, making much of it unlivable. All of this climate change and rising sea levels caused countless wars over the remaining livable land. During this time period, many countries foresaw the coming crisis and began to move populations into regions safe from rising sea levels and nuclear war. The largest of these projects was led by America, which sent many people into nuclear shelters in the Rocky Mountains. Similar projects are also carried out in Peru, the East African Federation, and India. As predicted by these countries, the wars for land eventually went nuclear. As China became more desperate, they eventually dropped a nuke on Moscow and Russia to try to get Russia to surrender land to them. This nuclear war began to spread, with almost all nuclear arsenals being emptied. In the original explosions, hundreds of millions were killed, but the fallout would be what ended the world. After the nuclear war, a nuclear winter occurred, with temperatures dropping by over 5 degrees Celsius. This is a larger drop from today than the last ice age would have been, and this would kill the most people out of any of these world-ending events. The drop in temperature killed almost every crop in the world, and starvation caused hundreds and hundreds of millions of deaths around the world. This nuclear winter lasted 15 to 20 years, and by the time it was over, only around 10 million people survived worldwide. This was the lowest the human population had been in over 8,000 years, and was over a 99.9% drop in human population. The remaining humans almost exclusively lived in 5 safe colonies set up by governments before the nuclear apocalypse. The largest of these was the American colony in the Rockies, with over 3 million people. The other 4 of these colonies had about 7 million between them, and only around 50,000 people lived outside of these colonies in the entire world. After the nuclear winter subsided, people from these colonies slowly began to resettle the world and restart civilization. By 2250, the American survivors had spread out among the Rockies and began to repopulate destroyed cities, such as Salt Lake City and Santa Fe. The other survivors had begun to spread out from their bunkers, but hadn't set up any real nations or government like the American survivors had. By 2300 AD, the Americans had resettled most of the western US, and some had even traveled to the Great Lakes region and settled around them. Survivors from the East African Federation had also resettled areas around Lake Tanganyika and Lake Victoria in East Africa. By 2400, the Americans had resettled almost all of America, excluding the East Coast. All the other safe colonies had expanded out and settled in their areas and a set of new nations in what used to be called Peru, the East African Federation, and India. At this point, the American settlers called their nation Panem, which came from the Roman phrase Panem et circenses, which means bread and circuses. They chose this name because the people knew they would be happy as long as they had bread and were still alive, with many in Panem believing they were the only humans left on Earth. By 2450, all the colonies had expanded, and Panem had expanded and crossed the entire North American continent. By this time, Panem had divided themselves into a capital city, which was built where the original safe shelters were, and 13 districts populated by people who had spread out around the continent. Each of these districts specialized in a certain industry that helped support the capital. District 1 was stretched across the old states of Idaho, Utah, and Wyoming, and they specialized in luxury products. District 2 was across the states of Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico, and specialized in metals and military technology. District 3 stretched across the states of Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, and Ohio, specializing in other types of technology. District 4 was along the entire West Coast and specialized in fishing. District 5 was situated in the states of Nevada and Arizona with a focus on electricity. District 6 was in the former Canadian province of Ontario, specialized in transportation technology. District 7 was situated in the states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana, and specialized in lumber. District 8 in the states of Missouri, Arkansas, and Tennessee, specialized in textiles or clothing. District 9 stretched across almost all the former Midwest and specialized in grains. District 10 was situated in Texas and northern Mexico and specialized in livestock. District 11 stretched across the states of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia and specialized in other agriculture besides grain. District 12 was mostly in West Virginia and specialized in coal. And finally, District 13 stretched across the states of Pennsylvania, New York, and the New England area, and specialized in nuclear technology. Panem was much like the ancient Roman Empire. Both empires had one central city, Rome, and the capital, respectively, which held most of the wealth of the nation. Both empires extracted resources from their territories and sent it back to the capital. Panem saw this connection and named many parts of their country and even their children after Roman places and people. Just like the system in ancient Rome, systems that extract wealth from the majority to make the minority rich will always cause revolts. From 2536 to 2539, the first district rebellion in Panem took place, where the districts threatened the capital itself, and the capital calls this period the Dark Days. Eventually, the capital threatened the districts with nuclear weapons, but the districts had 13's arsenal on their side. Sadly, District 13 made a deal with the capital where they would make it seem like District 13 had been destroyed by the capital. This caused the districts to surrender, but little did they know that District 13 would still actually exist and gain independence from the capital. After this first rebellion, the capital set up a punishment for the districts called the Hunger Games. In this system, a male and female child between the ages of 12 and 18 was chosen to fight to their death in the arena. A pair of these was chosen from each district, totaling 24 children every year. The last surviving child would become a victor and supposedly live happily for the rest of their lives. This system was not just a punishment for the districts, but was a way to remove empathy from an entire nation. It allowed the status quo to be maintained, and especially helped the dictator Coriolanus Snow stay in power. Of course, this system could never stand. It was always unlikely that the Hunger Games would last for centuries, as the system continually aggravated the districts, which outnumbered the capital 5-1. In the year 2611, the former victor Katniss Everdeen on the left broke out of the 75th Hunger Games arena and fled to District 13. This began the Second Rebellion, led by the District 13 president, Alma Coin, on the right. The first districts to join the rebellion were mostly in the east, with the districts of 3, 8, 9, 11, 12, and 13. District 7 also joined in the west. By 3 months after the Second Rebellion started, all the districts except for parts of 1 and most of 2 had joined the rebellion. At this point, the capital still controlled the Nut, which was their largest military base situated in northern District 2. The capture of this base by the rebellion is what finally spelled doom for the capital, as it allowed the rebellion to invade the capital city itself. The invasion of the capital lasted around 2 months, and President Snow only surrendered when the rebels reached his doorstep in the center of the capital. After the capital surrendered, Alma Coin tried to set herself up as a new dictator, but Katniss Everdeen assassinated her. In the subsequent elections, rebel commander Lydia Paler was elected as the first president of the Republic of Panem. The Republic of Panem, in pink, began to expand in both size and population, and even began to interact with the rest of the world. The territorial height of Panem was reached in 2682 AD, where they stretched from the Arctic in the north to the Amazon rainforest in the south. At this point, around 30% of the world's population lived in Panem. The smallest nation in this new world was Italy, based around northern Italy with a population of 300,000. Korea had also begun to rebound with a population of 500,000. The rising sea levels had caused a massive sea to form in the South American continent, and the nation of Amazonia had formed around the sea with a population of 1.3 million. Settlers from India had spread east and eventually mixed with the few survivors of the Philippines to create the nation of Filipina with a population of 1.7 million. Another of the nations set up by survivors that were in the Indian continent was Dravidia, which was in South India with a population of 3.6 mil. Survivors from the East African Federation eventually traveled north and settled around the Nile River, reforming the nation of Egypt with a population of 3.9 mil. Another one of the Indian survivor states was set up in Southeast Asia and named Indochina, with a population of 4.9 million. Survivors from the safe base in Peru spread out through the Andes Mountains and reformed the nation of Peru with a population of 5.6 mil. The largest of the Indian survivor states is the nation of Delhi, with a population of 11.3 million. The second most populous nation after Panem is Tanganyika, with a majority of the survivors from the East African Federation. Tanganyika has a population of 17.4 million. The Republic of Panem is by far the largest, most populous, and most powerful country in this new world order. Panem has a population of 32.5 million and an area of around 20 million square kilometers. Panem has a GDP of 2.09 trillion, and its largest city is Panem City, formerly known as the capital. After the rebellion, the districts had their borders slightly changed and were given actual names instead of numbers. New districts were also added as the country expanded, ending with the capital and 20 districts. The capital has a population of 6.6 million. Sierra has a population of 3.9 million. Pacifica has a population of 2.7 million. Michigan has a population of 2.6 million. And Cheyenne has a population of 2.4 million. These first four districts were the old districts of 1 to 4, with 1, 2, and 4 being considered career districts. These districts were the most important in this new country, with districts going down from here becoming less and less important. Moving to the outlying districts added after the rebellion, such as Yukon and Quebec in the north, and Mexico, Jalisco, Guatemala, Panama, Maracaibo, and Caribbean in the south. By far the largest city in Panem and in the world is Panem City, formerly known as the capital, with a population of 6.6 mil. Many of the district capitals are named after Roman cities, and the largest are as follows: Alexandria, formerly Toronto, situated along Lake Ontario, has a large economic sector, but they are mostly known for their transportation industry. They have a population of 1.5 mil. Deliciae, formerly known as Salt Lake City, is in the Rocky Mountains and was one of the first settlements outside the capital by the survivors. They are known for their luxury products and have a population of 1.4 million. Luxor, formerly Santa Fe, also in the Rocky Mountains, is another early settlement after the nuclear war. They are known for large mineral refineries and have a large military sector. Luxor has a population of 1.1 mil. Byzantium, formerly Chicago, on Lake Michigan, manufactures most of the technology for Panem. Also, much of the resources from the Midwest go through the city and into the Great Lakes to be traded to the rest of the world. Byzantium has a population of 1.1 mil. The largest city that is not a district capital is Memphis, formerly Albuquerque, which is situated very close to Luxor. This city houses the headquarters of the largest company in Panem, Plinth Industries, and has a population of 1.2 mil. In the Republic of Panem, stories of the rebellion and the Mockingjay, Katniss Everdeen, are still told to inspire hope for the future of this bleak world.